Okay. This problem number 5 on the chapter 5 test, statistics. We're going to talk about factorials, and we're going to talk about binomial coefficients. Okay. First, we need to know about factorials. What is a factorial? Okay. And a factorial is represented by an exclamation point. So if I were to say 4 factorial, that would equal 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay? Which is 12 times 2, which is 24. Okay? And if I were to do 8 factorial, and it's the same thing. 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And we would do that math. I'm not going to take the time to do that math.
56, 30, no.
Yeah. But we would do that math. And we just do that math, right? And some of your calculators have factorials on them. And there's one funky factorial. It always blows my mind. Okay? Zero factorial is 1. Okay? So when you do a 0 factorial, it's just 1. Okay? That's as hard as it gets. Not too bad, right? Alright, so now let's talk about binomial coefficients. Well, first let's talk about dividing some factorials. Let's think about this for a second. Let's say we've got 8 factorial divided by 4 factorial. Then what happens here is these cancel. And what's left is this. Right? And so what this equals is 8 times 7 times 6 times 5. Or, in other words, 56 times 30. Or, in other words, what is that? 150 plus 1500 plus 30 times 6 is 6 times 3 is 18 with a 0. So we got 1, 6, 8, 0. You can check my math. But 8 factorial divided by 4 factorial will equal 1680. Because what we did was we canceled out the 4, the 3, and the 2, and the 1. With the 4, the 3, the 2, and the 1 of the 4. Does that make sense? And that's the basics that we need in order to start doing binomial coefficients. And binomial coefficients is a start to understanding some binomial probabilities. But first we have to know how to do a binomial coefficient. So let's do one. Okay? And let's do the one that's on the test. 3 over 2. The binomial coefficient of 3, 2. Okay? If the formula is n factorial over x factorial times n minus x factorial, plug it in the formula, right? Equals, if this is n and this is x, we just plug in n, so 3 factorial over 2 factorial times n, which is 3, minus 2 factorial. and then we do the math. This is still 3 factorial, right? Over 2 factorial times, and 3 minus 2 is 1 factorial. And 1 factorial is just 1, and 1 times 2 factorial is just 2 factorial, right? So 3 factorial over 2 factorial, what is that? Well, that is equal to 3 times 2 times 1 over 2 times 1. Well, guess what? Cancel out the 2's, cancel out the 1's, and I get 3. Yay, we did it right. Okay? So again, do the factorial part first. Realize that once you have a 1 factorial or a 0 factorial, it's just 1. And 1 times anything is itself. And then bust out your factorials. 3 times 2 times 1, 2 times 1. Cross out the like terms, what's like on the bottom with what's like on the top, and multiply what's left over. Let's do another one. That was A, by the way. So let's do B. Oh, yay. 6, 0. This is the one that threw me for a loop because I forgot that the factorial of 0 wasn't 0, it's 1. Confused me. So you have to remember that the factorial of 0 is 1. Once you know that, then you have n and you have x. So you have 6 factorial over 0 factorial times n, or 6 minus 0, right? So what is 6 minus 0? 6. And then what is 0 factorial? It's just 1. And 1 times anything is itself. So right there you got 6 factorial over 6 factorial, which equals easy cheesy. Okay, so let's do C. C says that it's 6 over 6. What do you think the answer is going to be? In x, so we have 6 factorial over 6 factorial, and 6 minus 6 factorial. What is 6 minus 6? 0. And 0 factorial is just 1. So we're left with 6 factorial over 6 factorial, which is and finally we get an interesting one. 7 over 3. Again, 7 factorial over 3 factorial times 7 minus 3 factorial. Equals 7 factorial over 7 minus 3 is 4 factorial times 3 factorial. Well, this is interesting, right? Because when we make these, we have 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 all over 3 times 2 times 1 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? So right away, the 4 to the 1 is gone. But the 3 times 2 is how much? 6. So that's gone with the 6. So what's left? Seven times 5. Which is 35. Yay! And that's binomial coefficients.